Hello, Professor. My name is David Pratt. I am recording here my presentation for my paper for STG 390. Just so you know, my screen recorder can only record 15 minutes, so if I need to do a part 2, I will label this part 1 and part 2. I'm not sure how long this will be, so maybe part 1 of 2, maybe part 1 of 1. We'll see. But let's get into it here. So the problem here, over the course of 1 year, thousands of people will be involved in car accidents, and roughly 37,000 of them will die. The inability of humans to react quickly, the propensity for distraction, and the lack for attention given to the road are all causes of this. The problem rests upon humans and our inability to react to certain situations. It's not the cars, the road, or the weather, though these are aspects that cause accidents. They're not the main problem. The main problem is the human error at the wheel. This factor alone causes 94% of car accidents. 94% of all the death in car accidents. So this is our metrics slide. We're measuring in deaths per year. It's going to allow us to compare total deaths to just human error deaths. And we're going to use a very particular formula for measuring that human error. That's going to be drunk driving plus distracted driving plus speeding. And they're all going to add together to be human error. We should know what's not there. Physical breakdowns in health, or lack of experience, lack of focus, those kind of things will all play into human error at the wheel. But for this, I just wanted to take into account these 3 factors and just consider those because they give us a good view. The number that we will get will actually be smaller. A visual example of this data is on the right side of the screen, and you can see human error is about 63% of that pie, and there's non-human error that makes up the rest. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So here's the data that we're going to use for our situation. We've got the data on the left, and then the actual model or the decision tree that we're using on the right. So on the left of the left side, so the left column there, that's the total number of deaths from car accidents, and then on the right column there, that's the number of deaths in car accidents due to human error, which is that drunk driving, distracted driving, and speeding formula that I was talking about in the last slide. The decision tree, like I said, is on the right, and it outlines those 3 factors. Are they drunk, are they asleep, or are they distracted? Are they speeding? That kind of thing. So our analysis for the data, we can see that human error is a huge problem in this. Just our 3 factors, which are oversimplified for sure. We find that 2/3 of the car accidents are due to humans, and other places list this as 94%. So that's 22,730 people that would still be living in 1 year, in 2018 alone. And if we compound that over 5 years, we end up at about 100,000 people. So we're looking at a big factor here, a big situation. The solutions to this, there's only a few things we could do, not much that can be done. We've got safety measures, or we've got autonomous vehicles. The safety measures are, in my mind, not really a solution. It's a favorite of car manufacturers because it's a little easier and quicker. And it's a great way to help, but it doesn't really solve the solution because it doesn't really solve the problem because it doesn't stop accidents from happening. It helps keep people safe when accidents do happen, but it doesn't really stop them from happening, which is what we're trying to do here. On the other hand, autonomy for vehicles could stop accidents before they happen by creating an AI capable of avoiding them. That's the route that I would go, and not just because I'm a technologist, but also because it saves more lives by removing the human from being the driver and allowing the computer to take over. On the right side of the screen, you can see some data that supports this. This is data from the NHTSA's investigation into Tesla, and they looked at data of car accidents per million miles driven before AutoSteer, which AutoSteer is Tesla's autopilot system. So before it was installed, there's about 1.3 accidents per million miles driven. After it was installed, you can see there's only about 0.8. It's a change of about 40%. And implementing that into everywhere wouldn't be difficult. So this isn't totally autonomous driving, but it is close enough, and it's a 40% decrease. So you can see that autonomous vehicles actually provide a really good solution to our problem here. So now we're going to start walking through the values and virtues here. We're going through that 7-step process. For step 1, we're just gathering the facts. So the facts here, we already talked about 63% of deaths in car accidents are caused by human error. And then step 2 is to determine the ethical issues that apply. The ethical issue here is humans' inability to decide being taken and given to a machine, which is something that doesn't have a heart or a soul like we do. This second part here, multiple virtues and principles that have a bearing on this case, just going to use these 2 right here to love your neighbor as itself, because it has a bearing on whatever we do as Christians, and it should be our foremost motivation when it comes to doing anything. And by using autonomous vehicles, we are loving our neighbor by taking away the risk of drinking and driving, distracted driving, or speeding, and ultimately keeping others safe. The second virtue or principle is embracing and embodying God's creativity. And that's something that I chose because when we solve any problem at all, big or small, we are taking into account, we are using our creativity to do that, and that is really showing God's creativity through us. And I find that that has a huge bearing on this case, because what we have right now isn't totally autonomous driving, and so we're embracing that creativity by showing what we can create and creating something new. The alternatives for this, like we said before, are just to increase the safety standards, but that's not really an alternative. I mean, it is, but it's kind of a band-aid more than it is anything else. Comparing the virtues then with that list of alternatives, there aren't really any contradictions, because you're being loving by creating safety standards, and you are being creative. So that doesn't really help us pare down our list here. But the consequences really help us. Choosing safety standards, you're still going to have people who die. I mean, we're operating with pretty good safety standards right now, and still people are losing their lives. And then you're not creating as well as you can be, which is something we should be trying to do. Automated driving does fix loss of life, and it does embrace creativity, but it also allows machines to make decisions for us, which is the only downside that I could see. Now it comes time to decide. I obviously chose to do autonomous vehicles just because it's loving, it's creative, and I'm doing it for God's glory. It's about doing something good for everyone and not sticking a band-aid over something to help fix it. It's not even about making money. I want to love people, and I want to create something that can help people. And I want to do it all for the glory of God, which means that I do something that helps to fix this treacherous situation. So here's my references, and that is my presentation. Thank you very much.